Rightio, let's start this.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, mamas.
mamas. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Jess.
I'm Erica.
And why do I always say and?
No.
Guys, I hope you've all been enjoying the guests that we've had. I hope you guys I don't know what to say. I feel like it's been a while since we don't have anyone to introduce.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been so busy working on so many brand new things that we've got coming up. So super excited. We are just planning, like, everything takes time and love and patience.
No, and the reason that we haven't been able to kind of sit down and have a catch up, just me and you, is because we have so many guests lined up. And sometimes someone comes and it's like, oh, can I go on your podcast? And we're like, oh, when can we put them in? Like the other day, it wasn't even a joke. We were like, oh, maybe 2022, because that's how full we're getting. And it's like, we don't want to be rude to have someone on and then launch the episode in July when they've recorded in February.
And the episode is that Happy Valentine's Day.
Literally.
No, but not to be big-headed or anything, but honestly, it's been busy, and we thank every single one of you that come on. And I think, like Erica's mentioned a few times, everyone's story is different. Everyone's story matters.
I think we've touched on it before, in terms of storytelling, that some people might think, oh, people just share the good, but for some reason, even though everyone loves a good story, there are times where we won't share our own, and that's when you find out you're stopping from other people kind of connecting with you. It's the importance of storytelling as an experience itself, is once a story is shared, it becomes part of all of us. And all of us can kind of be like, oh my God, yeah, I've gone through that. Or someone learns from it and won't make the same mistake. Or at least you have something there to back on, maybe if something's happened to you and you're like, oh, I was listening to Mama's Cold and I heard this. So maybe you will have some kind of backup story to go with what's happening in your life at that precise moment.
Do you know what? That reminds me, actually, the episode 2 weeks ago with Vanessa, about my innocence.
Yeah,
I think we were so taken back that day of how many people had got back to us with their stories.
Mate, I remember I kept messaging Jess and I was like, oh, I think I'm just gonna have to
log off,
take a day off of Instagram, because we never and we love it, because we can't even say it's a lot for us, but we love the feedback. We love how much people are connecting with us, and it's not something easy, just going to a complete stranger and telling a really deep secret. Some of these people were like, oh, not even my parents know, but yet you've told a complete stranger, and it's fulfilling in a way, because it's where our purpose is being filled, the open therapy sessions and everything we're about is there,
that they've actually been a bit relieved of that weight off their shoulder, and they've actually, because a lot of them have actually expressed oh my God, I've never said this and I feel so much better now. And even though some situations we've not been in, we're actually able to maybe give them a different point of view.
No, we always need to remember that, it is important that we don't silence ourselves or suppress our opinions, the ideas we have and the experiences we go through, because again, when we did that episode, just me and you, we felt oh my God, it's just such a hard subject. And then seeing how many people came forward with their stories, we were thrown back by it, and getting different people's opinions. We've obviously have questions, and people were so open about every single story that we were told. And it was obviously we would we don't want to be intrusive, but we would ask the question and then the answer will come straight back. And I think we learned a lot. Absolutely.
And do you know what was beautiful as well? That everyone that did share the story with us embraced it. Some of them were obviously still very much healing, but a lot of them were actually I just kind of move on and So that was great. And just touching on that, guys, thank you so much. Honestly, we will never get tired of saying how much we appreciate everyone that engages with us and everyone that shares the podcast, likes our stories, comments. Honestly, it does help spread the word to other mums or parents that could find this useful. And you know what? And I've got to say this, because I was thinking about it the other day, that we have like quite a lot of followers, and you get like 2 likes and it's like nothing. It doesn't cost you to share something. Maybe you're a first time mom and everything is going fantastic for you, but maybe by sharing that post or that episode, another parent on your following might actually connect with it and might actually help them. Because as you said, not a lot of us like to open up and say, oh my God, how do I deal with this situation? How do I deal with this child? Or, so it's kind of like, if you the more you share, the more we can connect with different people, and the more, you don't know who you can be helping out there, to be honest. But yeah, just want to say thank you for all of that, guys. And we're coming up to a year.
Imagine really 1 year. At this point, I think it was already in talk. Like, you had already like bombarded our Instagram. What's up with? Oh my God! So guys, have an idea.
I'm gonna find that conversation and I'm gonna post it on our 1 year anniversary so everyone can see. Or maybe if it was around these dates, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna post it this week.
I remember me and Fish would just kind of like look at it like, what? Oh, okay, con qué saldrá, Jessica?
I bet you really daunted waking up to like 1,000 messages. Oh, for fuck's sake, I don't even want to open this chat.
Mama's Code.
To all our new listeners and our new followers, welcome to Mama's Code. We are trying to build that village that every single person needs, that community that everyone needs, that open therapy room where you can just come and dump your emotions and we can talk them out to the universe and express yourself freely and non-judgmental.
For everyone who might feel a bit pushed back, or not pushed back, held back from like telling their story, is, when you tell your story, you enhance your personal growth and maturity. Kind of going back to Vanessa's one, we saw how much, some people might, judge, and, we've got a few people questioning, like, how does a person not, put forward their abuser and stuff. But being confronted with the unfortunate realities that come with having difficult conversations or sharing negative or triggering experiences can be worth the growing, not only for yourself but also for those who choose to be actively engaged. And like you said, like, seeing all the feedback we received showed us just how much each episode impacts differently, one way or another, but we get a lot of engagement. And like Jess says, and I have to emphasize this, the more you guys engage with us, the more we can kind of know what route to take things in. If you guys just, one day, like, we get a lot when people are like, oh my God, can you talk about this? And then me and Jess will get onto it, because although we have a lot of ideas in books, we would love to hear everyone's feedback in like every single episode, or what you guys would like to hear, because again, this is everyone's platform. So
yeah, I think this is, you guys are our priority, because we want to be the voice of what you're feeling and speak you out, basically. And having said that, guys, this leads us on quite nicely to today's topic. Actually, we had a friend and mother that she wrote into us and she said, look, I want to share my story, I really want to get this off my back, but I don't obviously want to be on the show because she was quite nervous and she prefers to stay anonymous. So we're going to read out the email that she sent us and then we'll go from there.
Mama, I love you.
It starts off like this. After my first child was born, my anxiety hit me. It was sudden, like someone had flipped a switch. I was fearful for his safety, his health, and I was obsessed with protecting him. Things started with me only wanting to go out with my boyfriend. I was nervous about being responsible for him on my own. I had thoughts like, what if I need the toilet, but I can't get the buggy in there? Or what if I faint when I'm out? Who would look after him? And more extreme irrational fears like, what if someone kidnaps him? It was long and exhausting. It was a long and exhausting 2 years where I was on antidepressants, lacked motivation to do anything. Going back to work helped for the most part. I felt like I was human again. But the days where Zaya would get ill, I'd feel terrible leaving him. My anxiety would slowly creep up again. I'd scroll through Instagram and almost wish I was those influencers who got to spend all the time with their kids, who seemed to have their life set. I remember when Isaiah turned 2, I felt like we were finally able to bond. I loved his cuddles. He had a sassy personality which cracked me up. My boyfriend and I finally were in a good place, back to our old selves, going on date nights while the grandparents took care of Isaiah for the weekend. I remember so vividly that on March 2017, I felt sick and tired. I wasn't acting like myself. I was very irritable. I went to the GP because everything was bothering me. It was starting to affect my job. The usual routine questions were asked. Do you have a family history of depression? Could you be pregnant? Obviously, pregnancy was never in my mind. I was on the implant. Can't be that unlucky. Can I? I don't know why I laughed, but it's just to say the way I said it. Anyways, I got sent to Queen's Mary Hospital to do a few scans on my head. At this point, I think the doctors thought I was mad. Lol. But then, after a few blood tests, the day of the results was here. I remember walking into that room and the doctor said, "Congratulations, you are pregnant." I promise I felt my soul leave my body. It must have ran away because it was not looking forward to what was about to hit us. One thing that has surprised me about this being a grown-up, One thing that has surprised me about this being a grown-up. I don't get that.
One thing that surprised me about being a grown-up.
Oh, one thing.
Grow up.
One thing that has surprised me about being a grown-up is how, for me, the decision to have a second baby hasn't been as straightforward as it was first time around. Back then, in our footloose and fancy-free days, the conversation between Mr. P and I went something like, "Oh, our friends are pregnant. Do we want that? I think we do. Are we ready? I think we are. Okay, let's do it." It was exciting and brilliant, and we were full of hope for the future. This time, however, memories of morning sickness, giving birth, sleepless nights, and more than anything, postnatal depression are lodged firmly in my brain, where they fight on a daily basis with feelings of love towards my son, feelings of gratitude that we have him in our lives, and a desire to grow our family, give him a sibling. This battle has been going on since my son was around 18 months old. I always thought that I'd want more children. I just don't know if I'm mentally strong enough to do it.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, beautifully read, Erica.
Thanks.
Right, where do we start?
Jesus Christ, there's just so much.
Firstly, how funny is it that we all think about, what if I need to use the toilet but I can't put the buggy in? You know the toilets in Westfield, the baby toilet, it's really small. And like my buggy's like not the biggest. And I remember going in there and thinking, and like really tired, I started feeling like the escape room, like how do we get out of it? It's like, it's so tight.
I think as a parent, because I think it happens to both men and women, you do get really panicky, especially if it's your first. There are a lot of irrational thoughts in your head. Like, I for one can definitely relate to what if someone kidnaps him, because I always, even till now, my son's 6, and I sometimes if Joel's like running ahead, I always think of like the worst case scenario, you know, someone like stopping the car, snatching. And because I think it's mainly because we process so much media now, and like everything that we see, it kind of like just lingers in the back of our brain, and we automatically put that into our lives. So we push that into existence, basically. So if like, for example, recently I've read, you know, a man in Holborn tried to snatch a kid from his mom's hand. In my head, that will just keep lurking, and I'll always think, oh my God, I can't let go of Joel's hand. because that fear is inflicted into us. So I can definitely relate. Yeah. I don't know, it's a lot. Like, I think as a parent we do go through a lot, and then, you know, without putting postnatal depression into the picture, being a first-time parent, you do overthink absolutely everything. Everything becomes the biggest deal, even, you know, the smallest things. I think, I don't know, for the second time round I'm so much more relaxed, and now that you think about it, when you kind of compare, you're like, what the hell what's wrong with me? And, you know, and you will get people, like, say, like parents or, you know, grandparents will always look at you like, oh, relájese, it's not that big of a big deal. But it's different. Like, you know, my experience to your experience is completely different. For, like, when you had Leo, I could be thinking, why is she panicking so much? But it's completely, it's your first time. Like, you I can't possibly think that you're going to feel what I'm feeling. Like, yes, you know, at the end, deep down in your mind, that everything will be okay. But you have to go through the tough road to get there. And I think everyone needs to get, like, you know, go through the hardness of parenting to realize at the end, oh, you know, it's not that much. That, you know, when you hear, oh my God, the sleepless nights. Right now we've passed the sleepless nights. Yes, they will, you know, wake up early here and there, but that phase has gone. And then all of a sudden now, oh, I want another baby. It's like, so what is it? You just went through like depression because you can't sleep. And I remember me with Joel, like, sometimes I would like be so frustrated when I used to feed him. I used to be like, oh my God, why is this kid waking up so much? I used to, like, honestly, to the point I once thought, I was like, nah, I shouldn't have done this. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? You know, you start thinking stupidness, like,
where do I go drop him off at the fire station?
Literally. And sometimes you kind of think, like, you know, if you think that, and then we go back to, like, say, when you see again in the news, oh, this kid was abandoned here, we don't, like, we can only judge from what we're seeing, but we don't know the full story. And I think that's where sometimes we can get caught up in what we see in the media. We don't get the full lowdown. Like, a mum could be, you know, suffering from like severe mental health,
and now she's being judged because she left her child sterile.
Like, are we judging her just because she left the child, or are we judging, or would we judge her if she kept the child but would mentally abuse him? Like, like, we don't kind of like scale it out and balance it out.
Or she was to wake up and be dead because she couldn't hack it. So rather than affect her child, she's gone and affected herself. And you know what? It's so right what you've just said. I think it's very much, obviously you feel this way the first time round because you don't want to fail your child and fail yourself as well, because I think when you go into parenting, there is so, especially from like our older generation, there's so much expectation, and maybe it's so much of like, you can't fuck this up, like you had one job kind of thing. So, and I think it's just learning to let go of that a bit and kind of embrace it, because I think the more expectations you have, the harder you will have, the harder over time you will have. And I think seeing her thought process of the first time round, we were like, yeah, let's have a kid, and, you know, we're at a good point in our relationship. I feel like that will always be the situation for most people in stable relationships that have reached that point. The second time round, a lot of people tend to jump on and say, oh, you've already done it, you can do it again. And like, come on, it's just, you know, when are you going to have a sibling for whatever. But it's like, it's so different because you know what's coming, you know what's happening. If you've had a very shit experience for your first child, whether it was sleepless nights, whether it was colic, whether it was postnatal depression, anxiety, rage, you already know what the possibility is. Whereas pre-baby, you know about these things. Like nowadays, you're a bit more aware. You may not think it would happen to you because we always, as humans, tend to say that could never be me, right? You think about having a sibling much more than you would have the first time, because the first time you were probably so horny, you were like, oh my God, give me a baby. And then we're here now. But the second time around, you've already experienced so much distress, so much, if you've had a shit time, that why would you want to put yourself in that situation again? And this is something that people don't understand. And this is, you know, them throwing the question left, right, and center: when are you going to have a kid? Or when are you going to have another baby? And it's like, we're not going to go around and tell every single person, look, the reason why I don't is because I was depressed, because we're so programmed to keep these things to ourselves, because we don't want people to look at us like, it's not that hard. So this is why I've become really aware about asking this question.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, like, people, like you say, like, there's just so much, so many reasons as to why someone may not be ready. Not that they don't want to. There are some people that just don't want to because of the experience they've gone through. You know, some kids are really hard, like, and you always almost think like, you know, I've got you're this kind of way. And although in your mind you already know this kid is going to, you know, grow up and their whole personality is going to change, it sticks with you how hard it's been to, like, help them grow. Another aspect that we can touch on is, you know, if you have a baby and you feel like this baby's kept you at home and you can't find yourself to go back to work, you feel like you're almost leaving your career to raise babies. Some women, that mentally messes them up, you know. Another reason, you know, lack of help around the house from the other half. You know, some women have to do it alone, and imagine adding another baby into that. It's like, well, everyone's rushing me, but who's going to come at 2 in the morning to help me? And a lot of people don't see that, and I think it's selfish because people kind of like just throw away the question, and it's like, oh yeah, well, you know, he's getting big, she needs a sibling. And I think we touched this with Steph in one of the episodes we did earlier on. You know, everyone would always be like, oh, when are you going to give La Nina a baby sister, baby brother? And it's like, how do you know what I've been through? Like, how can you sit there and like kind of judge and say, oh, well, you know, she's old enough, don't let it go to. And yes, we all have that mentality, you know, oh, the older they get, the more we're going to kind of be behind the things. No matter the age, it's the same shit as, you know, you can't have kids over 30. Yes, you can. You need to stop with that. Like, having babies in your 20s is great. Having babies in your teens, it's good. Like, everyone will survive it. Having a baby after 30 does not make you any less of a mother, or, oh, because she's too old, she's not going to be able to cope. I know tons of people that have had babies way past their 30s, touching their 40s, and they're amazing mothers, you know, and they've had that career focused time, and now they can fully focus on their kids if that's what they want. But again, people always seem to judge, and I just think we live in a society that no matter what you do, it's never perfect to other people's eyes. Like, it's like someone's set on stone what it is, at what age, how you're meant to like raise your child. It's just something else.
To be fair, the question in itself is selfish, and because honestly, everyone always focuses on the child being alone rather than what do the parents go through. And you've just made a really valid point, like, about the support that you've got at home. Say, for instance, you've had a child with your partner, you split, or you're living as if there's no relationship romantically, because a baby will put a strain on your relationship, whether it's, you know, the smallest strain or not. In one way or the other, it will, and it will take you a couple of months to get back to how you were, just simply because the mother will always be so focused on the child and trying to get things right, and trying to, like, you know, we spend so much time educating ourselves, trying to make sure that we are doing the right thing, that we just get so consumed. And to be fair, let's face it, our children require a lot of our attention. So, you know, people saying this, it's like, maybe the child is 4 or whatever, it doesn't mean your relationship at home is the best. And maybe you're starting to get back there, and then what's, you know, throwing a spanner in the works and having another baby, what's that going to do to you? And having said that, the doctor is saying congratulations.
It's ridiculous.
Do you know what? I get it. Having a baby is a miracle, right? It's a big thing.
I think as professionals they should know that, because
yes,
we get exactly. That, like, we get some of the congratulations, but we've also had guests on the show, like, we've got a TV show that say, oh, are you going to keep it? Do you want, like, they automatically think that you're ready to abort, and it's like, Like,
they feel like what do
they
you
know, like, they know
yeah.
what's going on in your brain. And I think that's really unfair. Like, I think it should just be a neutral thing.
Neutral.
And kind of like ask you, be like, how do you feel about this? That's like the priority question, not what are you going to do? No, not what. The person, you've literally just told someone they're pregnant. They need to digest this information. No one makes a decision like this. So I think ideally it would be nice if professional doctors would just like sit down for a moment, maybe take a breather and be like, how do you feel? How does this make you feel? Instead of just shouting congratulations and bringing out like miraculous shit.
I think that's the question. How do you feel and what would you like to do? Because it's the same as, you know, we've had people talk about their miscarriages, and it's like you're going through your miscarriage at that moment in the hospital, and they're asking you, so how do you want to finish this? Like, what do you mean? Like,
oh no,
you let me digest this.
You weren't that far enough, so it's not a big deal. And it's like, it hurts me no matter how far I was in my pregnancy. It's still my baby. Like, and I've had people like tell me that, you know, the person showed no compassion. It was kind of like, oh, here's a leaflet, go home now.
Go sit in that room and just think about it. But yeah, I think that, and I feel like that can make the person feel very like, shit, am I reacting in the wrong way? Because you instantly feel that pressure to feel some sort of way that you think, wait, what? So let's continue. I'm going to put my audiobook voice. I'll be working on my laptop in my local Costa, and a mum will come in with a small baby in a pram. My stomach will flip over. Not in that, oh, I really want another baby way, but in a gut-wrenching way, as memories of being a new mum, being so lonely, feeling utterly incapable of getting through the day in one piece, come flooding back. FYI, just typing that sentence made me cry. Just thinking about those lonely days back at the beginning when you have no clue.
When you're up in the middle of the night and no one's there to talk to you.
Yeah, and your husband's just like
snoring away, yeah.
Do you know what? I have to say this. I always appreciate Dee, because every time I was up at like 3 a.m, I'll go on Instagram and I'll see she's just posted like 2 seconds ago. I'll be like, oh, hey, we meet again in the middle of the night. I see mothers of toddlers announcing their second or third pregnancy. When my son was a toddler, the idea of being pregnant again made me feel physically sick. These women mustn't have struggled with the decision, I tell myself. For them, it must have been very easy. Because you're supposed to really want to have a baby, aren't you? It's meant to be an instinctive gut feeling that overwhelms you and dominates your every thought until you get pregnant. So having conflicting feelings about it, feelings that are as strong as each other, is confusing and exhausting. But once again, my mind decided to fuck up again. I went into deep depression. Having a baby wasn't in my books. The thoughts of hurting my son came lurking back. Pregnancy was awful for me. I struggled with one child. I can't imagine dealing with two small kids. I don't think I can mentally do it, my mind kept telling me. What if my depression continued until I pushed everyone away? I asked myself continuously. The matter here is, I was in such a dark place that I started to self-harm secretly. I'll do it on my shoulders. I'd cut my feet. I'd pinch my head. Sorry, you can't pinch your head. I'd punch my head. Just trying to pinch your head. Sorry, so inappropriate. I'd punch my head, slap myself. Kicking became the worst because staring at that knife, I'd think at ways I could make it look like an accident. But somehow, hearing Isaiah's voice in the background would pull me back to reality. Oh. I remember one day feeling so lost and lonely. My mind was so on overdrive and I could not cope, so I took 10 paracetamols and 7 sertraline pills with a bottle of JD we had lurking around the house. I don't remember much on what happened. I woke up in hospital and had flashbacks of the doctors rushing and pressing buttons all in the room. When I woke up, the first thing they mentioned was they had to pump my belly due to the overdose. I felt relieved because I thought, okay, the pregnancy must be over. But no, that little blob was still there. People may think I'm awful for feeling stuck once again, but my soul could not cope. I remember a nurse asking me why I had tried to take my life, and my response was, I just can't cope with this pregnancy. I don't want it. I don't want to feel what I felt before. I'm not selfish for just wanting to be mentally stable for my baby and I could see she teared up and said, I understand. For a moment, I felt great not being judged for my decision. The doctors came in and explained what would happen and what the procedure to end the pregnancy was. I signed a few paperworks and it was over. I felt my soul return to my body. That gut-wrenching feeling like someone was holding onto my neck was not letting me breathe was over. I know no one can promise me I'll never feel sad again. I know what I did was the right decision for me. I put my mental health for my son before anything. I couldn't be a mother to my child for 2 years because I suffered so much. Why would I ever want to put myself at risk of feeling that again? Yes, thanks for sharing my story, girls, and for creating a safe place for mothers like myself. Wow.
Wow, that's a lot. It's absolutely a lot.
My ratings to her, though, pushing through every single person's opinion and not caring.
And I think, like, some people might be listening and be thinking that they find it stupid, like, why didn't she end it from the first place? And me and Jess did ask this because we did think, well, you know, if you went for it at the end, why didn't you just do it? You know, that was an option. Her religion doesn't allow it, and it wasn't in her belief to do so. Obviously, she had the support from her husband and stuff, but I just think it kind of weighed heavy on her. And we obviously didn't go too deep into the topic, but she did say for religion belief, she didn't do it. She just felt horrible in thinking that she would end the baby's life. So she thought it would be best, because at that point, I think when she was deep down in that depression, she felt she wouldn't be a good mum for Isaiah. So she thought it would be best if she just went and she left the world. Thankfully she didn't, and she's an amazing mum. But yeah, that's practically
didn't
why.
You say her mom had some word in it as well?
Well, yeah, like because of the religion belief, her mum didn't support it. But obviously, I think when she saw that, obviously taking her life was next on her. Yeah, exactly. Like, how desperate must you be?
It's crazy, because you know what, it takes a lot to decide that you're going to take your life, knowing that there's a little child out there that you're basically their center of the universe. And I think this is when people tend to think, oh, you know, that could never be me, or how could you go and kill yourself when your child's in the room? But mental health is an illness in the state of mind and the thoughts that you're having. You can't control them when you're that deep in. I think you sometimes may have a clear moment where you think, oh my God, no, I can't do this, which is when, you know, you can pull yourself through. But I think it's very hard, and constantly being reminded of how her first pregnancy was, and like her son was 2. Imagine 2 whole years. Like, if anything, her first 2 years are like probably on average is what it takes a person to start feeling like, okay, they got this. And when they do, it's like, oh, here comes a new phase. And I think it's just very important, the same way that we all talk about, you know, mental health, this and that she actually chose herself first. And I think a lot of parents forget this when they have a child, because we drop everything for our kids. And let's be honest, we put them in front of us almost all the time. But she actually took that step and was like, nah, I can't. Like, I need to be good for my baby.
I think also, as a parent, I can't begin to imagine not feeling a bond with my child for 2 whole years, not wanting to spend time with the baby, you know, and I remember I asked her, I was like, how like, how was he with you? And she was like, oh, he would always be like, mummy this, and you know, like, boys are mummy's boys and stuff. And she said that he got so used to the rejection that he wouldn't really go to her. He would always go to his dad. But then when he would get hurt, he would like kind of call out for his mummy. And she did say, she was like, I'd feel awful, but the bond just wasn't there. Like, my depression and the pills she got sent would like put her in a really dark place before she even got better. So I think, I don't know, like, again, there will be a lot of judging into the story, you know, or if you had one, you can, you know, you'll get over the next one. I just don't think that's the way we should think. And like you said, a parent's mental well-being should come first, because if you're not okay, you won't be okay for your baby. And kind of like to put ourselves in her shoes and kind of think for a moment, we've been able to bond with our child, whether maybe it's not instantly, but it hasn't been 2 years. So for you as a parent to not feel the love we think we have to feel, or the bonds we are made to think we have to feel for our child, it must be very daunting, because you must think, shit, maybe I wasn't built to be a mum. Am I broken? Is there something internally wrong with me to not feel this endless love for my child? And then once, obviously, she says that once it started to get better, you know, her relationship with her husband started to pick up. Her life was kind of like, the puzzle was like falling into place, and then it just kind of like messed everything up. And again, it's a thing where she wasn't just, she got pregnant because, oh yeah, you know, mistake. No, she was on the implant. So yeah, there are a lot of factors in the story where I feel some people might feel judgy, you know, not agree with certain things that she may have done. But again, like, the important thing is, you know, she's well, her son is well, and I think that's ultimately the most important thing, that she put her sanity before anything.
And listen, at the end of the day, this situation will always be 50-50. For us, it's very easy to be like, oh no, but you know, you've been there before, you know how to work around it and how to get yourself out of this. So for us, it's very easy to be like, yeah, just give it a try or whatever. But it's 50-50. It can genuinely be the best pregnancy and the best thing for her, as well as it could be the end of her. Because if it was like that the first time round, what guarantees you that she won't actually succeed the next time round? I just wanted to point out as well that I think you said it, the fact that there's so many influences around us that make us feel like, is it wrong the way I'm feeling? Is it wrong that I want to, like, you know, for instance, sometimes you say like, oh, for fuck's sake, like this child, or I just need a break. And some people will look at you sideways and be like, oh, you have to be patient, or, oh, don't say that. It's like, listen, you can actually say these things. It doesn't mean you're going to go and abandon your child. Like, it's normal to want to feel like that. Don't look at me like it's not.
No, I think, like, obviously, like, I always agree that you need to be aware of your emotions. You need to, you know, I think expressing these feelings is giving you a voice. Like, you know, nothing is perfect in our lives. We're human beings, and whoever thinks that their life's perfect is absolutely chatting shit, because relationships are not perfect. We have endless arguments. You know, it's not all like a little fairy tale and we sprinkle roses every time. Yes, at the beginning, the honeymoon period is great. You wait until you get far down the line. Yes, there are going to be arguments, and a baby does put a strain in your relationship. Whether you've got $1 billion, whether you're poor, it doesn't matter how you're feeling or in what kind of category you're at. Your relationship will be put to test. And as the kids grow older, it gets worse, because that's when kids start kind of testing you. Oh, you know, my daddy is in charge, you're not in charge. And it's kind of like,
oh no,
this little motherfucker to say that. Yeah, like, and it will, like, you know, sometimes you will disagree the way like someone in your household will tell your child off, and these things start testing your patience. because, and I've touched on it a lot, you know, me and Ollie have learned so much from it, and we've grown from it, you know. We now know that I can't take Ollie's like
authority in front of the kids.
No, because then they will know, oh yeah, well, my dad's a dickhead, like he doesn't have no say in this house. And then when I will need his help, he's going to be like, nah, you took that authority away from me, don't come and help me now when your kids are like derailing.
You know what, you say that, I think these past 2 days have been like Leo has pushed his buttons. Like, I think lockdown is getting I think is, you know, they say the testing twos, I think this is it. And I think because we know that this is a phase that's coming, and we've heard so many people talk about it, we don't let it overwhelm us to an extent. Of course we're going to get pissed off. But so the other day, I think it was yesterday, Jay literally, like, he shouted, not in a way of like, but he was just like firm, but with like that loud tone, and his like every single vein in his head like came out. And I was standing at the kitchen door, like my heart had just been ripped out of my chest, and I was so pissed off. But I was just like, I can't say anything, like because that would have been me. Had I been in the living room and had he been in the kitchen, that would have been my reaction. And like you say, we came halves with this child. I can't just go and be like, oh my God, no, because he came out of me, you can't tell him off. But that shit hurts. I was looking at him like, you were a dick.
But you say that, but when Leo grows up and you are having a hard time, you know, like I know, for example, if Jojo's giving me a hard time, I'm like, I'm going to call your dad, because he knows we're both firm individuals. He knows that it's not one of those relationships where, oh no, my mom says, oh no, don't shout at him, or don't do that, because children are very smart. They start picking up on these little things. And, you know, even when the dad, oh, my mummy said you can't do that. You can't, because your kid's not going to stay little. These things like that are not going to hurt you when they grow up and they basically tell you to fuck off.
It's a two-way road.
You look at your husband like, he just told me to fuck off, and like Jay will be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know he was my child. You took that authority from me ages ago.
Yeah.
So you deal with your child. This is who you've raised, because you're taking away the opportunity of, you know, him setting ground rules as well.
Absolutely. It's a two-way road, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think in something like that, we as mom and dad are a unit. We're both responsible. We need to tag team with this. So how am I gonna, you know, back down or all of a sudden turn on you because you've like shouted at my child? But yeah, I think, and sorry, I was just gonna add the whole influencer life. You know, you just go on Instagram and everyone looks so perfect and happy, and it's like, we know that this is just for the highlights. But
or do you know what like gets to me? It's like when they put like ads, or like, you know, they do the stories and they're just getting like gifts from here and there, and you must think, fucking hell, like what do I have to do to get gifts? Meanwhile, I'm counting up my pennies to try and buy myself un desodorante en el Tesco.
Babe, I can send you one, Amazon Prime. No, but you know what? It's hard work, and I think, and you know, do you know what? The other day we posted this part of a generation that no longer sugarcoats motherhood, and that in itself is just amazing, because you can have your influencer lifestyle, but what's the point if it's not like that 24/7? We embrace the shit moments in parenting, and I think this email that we've just read kind of shines that on in every single point, basically. You know, she went from the way she felt with the first child, on, you know, her fears and anxiety and, oh my God, what if someone kidnaps my child, to now apparently the whole world thinks you're an expert at being a mom, so now the second child will be easy. But she's literally gone through every single stage, and look at her striving and being best.
Yeah. And like what I stated at the beginning, you know, just her, like, she was scared to come on, but, you know, the power of her sharing her story and being true to herself reaffirmed what she believes in. And no one can, like, you know, she said, I know I'm going to get criticism. People are going to be thinking, oh, well, she's fucking selfish for, you know, giving up her life. And, you know, how many women are wishing they could have a baby? Yeah, but every person's story is different. And like, it's boosted her confidence. Like, she was so excited when she sent it over to us, and it's pushed her to be a better person. And her decision in itself has pushed her to be a better person, because she's pushed herself to be a better mother for Isaiah. Yes, it did make her a bit uncomfortable. It made us a bit uncomfortable, because, you know, it's the first time we kind of read our story. But reading it and kind of like putting ourselves in her shoes before we even questioned anything that was on there. But the lasting impact is empowering and liberating, you know, being able to share her story and touch on things that we agree and disagree with. You know, we all have our opinions, and people listening will have their, you know, oh, but if, but this, but, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine, because that's what it's about. When you share a story and you're so open about it, you put yourself out there for criticism. And there's no right or wrong way. Every single person will do things differently. But this is her story. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Her story is her story. It doesn't have to impact anyone else's life. And maybe if someone else was to go for it, they'll do things differently. And that's, again, perfect, because it's your own story.
Yeah, it's just to say, someone out there is going through the same situation, is going through that same frustration of, shall I have another child, or, oh my God, I'm pregnant with another child. And it's okay to feel like, I don't want this. And you know what, just at the end of her email, when she said that she just felt that relief, that she could literally breathe again, like, you can almost feel that. And that's just, go have a happy life. Thank you so much to her for sharing her story with us. Seeing as there's no guest, what do we do with the golden tip?
I think we've basically shared a lot in, you know, different ways where you could share your story, and it may be easier to maybe share it with someone that you don't know. Like we've touched with the, you know, I lost my innocence one. We had a lot of people that don't know us but felt comfortable to share it with us. No story is not important. Every single story matters. And again, like, we don't want to kind of promote that this story in particular, that if you're feeling this kind of way, that's the way you can go forward. It's ultimately your decision, and you will know what's best, you know, whether you think, okay, I can do this and I will keep the baby, or again, if you feel you can't and it shouldn't matter what other people think. And I don't think mums or spouses should have an opinion. I definitely think in terms of like aborting and stuff, it should be a two-way thing, because, you know, you didn't make the baby by yourself, but the final decision is yours, because it's your body. So yeah,
I think the importance is to think about yourself as well before everything, because it's your life changing.
And again, it's not selfish to want a better life or to want the life you have. If you're living a comfortable life, that isn't selfish for you to think, I don't want this. Because it is daunting, you know, thinking, oh my God, everything's going to change. And like our guest, she was comfortable, she was finally getting her life together, and then this came like a, you know, ice cold water.
If anything, it's more selfish to go ahead with it knowing that you don't want it, because then is that going to project onto your child?
No, and like, you know, we've touched it. She said she wasn't a good mother to her first baby. So imagine, like you said, yes, it could go either way, and she'll become like the absolute best mother to this new baby. But what are the chances? Like, if you had, like, say there's two Maltesers, there's a green one and a red one, and they tell you, oh, one will make you die, you don't take any, because you don't want to die. Like, that one will kill you, so you just don't. And it's your decision.
Welcome to the Matrix.
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk. Bye.
Mama's going out.
Mama's Code.